Alright, I need to know if any parents of young kids have had this same experience. So we just took my 3-year-old son in the doctor for a checkup. My 3-year-old son. Okay, there's a reason why I'm emphasizing that, and you're about to know why. So my wife and I are waiting in the room with our son, and the doctor comes in. And he sees my son sitting there on the table, and the first question that he asks him is, "Are you a boy or are you a girl?" And I look at my wife like, what the f-? So luckily my son understands obvious tenets of biology at 3 years old, and says that he's a boy, just like his chart says. So the rest of the appointment, I can't even focus because I'm wondering why in the world this guy is asking the question. And then I remember, oh yeah, I live in California. And call me paranoid, but this is where I think we're heading based on other things that have happened. An Ohio couple lost custody of their teenager for refusing them hormone treatment. And a divorced Texas couple were in a court battle over whether or not to let their 7-year-old transition from a boy to a girl. And many are saying that the new proposed Equality Act could lead to more parents losing custody of their kids who want gender transition. So again, call me paranoid, but I'm wondering if the doctor is asking the question of my son to see if he can establish a pattern over time that shows that my son wants to be a girl. But here's the thing, my son is 3. I'm not even going to let him choose what he wants for dinner. And some days, my son thinks he's a dinosaur, but I'm not going to let him transition to a dinosaur. And being in California, this is probably going to happen to people like me first, but I don't think it's going to be long before we start seeing parents lose custody of their young kids because they're not letting them transition to the opposite gender. And I think pediatricians are going to be the ones who are going to start calling it out.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I got to tell you guys, I believe that we are in fact approaching the end times. Okay, I'm telling you, man, the stuff that we're seeing nowadays, wow. Elon Musk, I just want you to finish that rocket ship to Mars. I don't care. I'll get on the first one, okay, to at least have another chance, to start a civilization grounded in common sense, because I think we need to start over after seeing these videos I'm going to discuss with you guys, in which we have the medical community, some children's hospitals that have become full-blown woke, okay? They're full-blown on board with the gender ideology that, in my opinion, is detrimental to the mental and physical health of children, okay? But, you know, again, if you oppose this type of stuff, you are a bigot, okay? Yes, if you oppose medical experimentation on children who are not old enough to consent to this medical experimentation, you are in fact a bigot, okay? Because you're not letting them live out their fantasies in which, you know, they want to be the opposite sex. So that being said, I want to talk about some shocking videos that have been floating online from children's hospitals, okay? Almost advertisements that they are promoting transgender surgeries for children, okay? And hormones and you know, treatments, testosterone, stuff like that for children, okay? Again, it's one thing for the woke revolutionaries to promote it. It's another thing for the medical community to promote it. So we got to talk about that. But before I get into that, I just want to let you guys know, if you like my channel, you want to support my channel, you can do so using the links in the description below. Support the Patreon, you support the PayPal, you support the merch. There are multiple ways to support the channel if you would like to do so, including checking out some of my new merch, my donkeypox shirts, the disease that's affecting America, or my hashtag no days off / hard work patriotic t-shirts are available at gforemanbcp.com. Get 20% off using discount code gforemanbcp. So without further ado, let's go ahead and play this video from the Pittsburgh Children's Hospital, in which they are basically advertising puberty blockers for children as if there are no side effects at all, right? There's no potential harms that can be caused to children by taking these drugs. Take a look.
I wanted to talk to you guys today a little bit about puberty blockers. Puberty blockers are basically a medication that says, hey, let's just put a pause on puberty. And that can be really beneficial for younger kids who have already started the puberty process, who either might go through a lot of psychological distress as they go through puberty if they're struggling with gender dysphoria, or for somebody who's saying, hey, I'm not really sure if I feel comfortable in my body or what gender I truly identify with.
Yeah, let's just put young children on puberty blockers. That's a really good thing, right? According to a children's hospital, guys. A children's hospital is promoting this, okay? Yeah, nothing can go wrong. Like, you know, brain development or bone development or development of, the genitals, parts of the body that, require some of these sex hormones in order to develop properly, okay, for the sex that they were born with at birth, right? Their God-given genetics, okay? Yeah, great idea. Let's just block God's work, okay? Let's block it, okay? If you thought that was bad, let's take a look at Boston Hospital, who has not only gone woke on this stuff, but they're full-blown advocating for gender-affirming surgeries such as hysterectomies for young girls. Take a look.
A child will often know that they are transgender from the moment that they have any ability to express themselves, and parents will often tell us this. We have parents who tell us that their kids, they knew from the minute they were born practically, and actions like refusing to get a haircut or standing to urinate, trying to stand to urinate, refusing to stand to urinate, trying on siblings' clothing, playing with the quote opposite gender toys, things like that. There is more and more a group of adolescents that we are seeing that really are coming to the realization that they might be trans or gender diverse a little bit later on in their life. So what we're seeing from them is that they always sort of knew something was maybe off and didn't have the understanding to know that they might be trans or have a different gender identity than the one they had been assigned. So that is a growing population that we are seeing, and that's being recognized as being trans and able to be treated.
Gender-affirming hysterectomy is very similar to most hysterectomies that occur. A hysterectomy itself is the removal of the uterus, the cervix, which is the opening of the uterus, and the fallopian tubes, which are attached to the sides of the uterus. Some gender-affirming hysterectomies will also include the removal of the ovaries, but that's technically a separate procedure called a bilateral oophorectomy. And not every gender-affirming hysterectomy includes that, and people who are getting gender-affirming hysterectomies do not have to have their ovaries removed.
Yeah, so we have a children's hospital straight up talking about and advertising gender-affirming hysterectomies, aka removing a female's reproductive organs from her body. Who do you think that they're talking about here, right? Do you think they're talking about older women, right, who want to be men? I don't think so, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't go to a children's hospital. A children's hospital should never be doing any type of advertisements or having any talks or conversations about affirming anybody because you work with children, right? I'm just saying. But again, because we live in Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff world, this is what we got, right? And let me start with this from the Boston Children's Hospital. The Boston Children's Hospital claims that they don't perform genital surgery on kids below the age of 18. That's what they say, okay? But we do know that mastectomies are definitely done before the age of 18, okay? And for all intents and purposes of this video, okay? Again, I'm not claiming that they're doing genital surgery on, kids younger than 18. I'm just saying, right? When we're talking about any type of surgery, physical surgery, hormones, whatever, on children, it's equally bad, right? Whether or not it's on the genitals or not, okay? The first video about how you have this doctor, right, a medical professional, sitting here trying to tell people that children, from the moment they can communicate, they are able to tell you what their gender is, right? As if children, from the moment they can say papa and mama, they can also say, mama, I was born with the wrong genitals, right? I don't really want a penis, okay? That is what this doctor is saying, right? And they think that people buy into this stuff. That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds about right. Babies, 2-year-old babies. Some kids can talk and communicate before they're even 2, right? So we're talking about 1 to 2-year-olds can tell their parents that, hey, I'm not the right sex, right? I was born with the wrong genitalia. Wow. Again, if this is the direction of the medical community, I mean, at this point, you're discrediting yourself. That's what's happening. The public health sector has already discredited themselves with how they handled the pandemic and definitely with how they're handling this new disease, monkeypox, okay? Because it seems like, you can't talk about it, you can't say anything about it, and people getting special privileges because the disease is affecting a certain group of people. Now the actual medical professionals, the doctors, they're on board with the woke gender ideology as well, to the point it's like, well, how can we trust you? right? Because you're obviously saying things are not grounded in reality. You bought into the woke nonsense at the expense of basic biological science and medical science. You know this is not right, right? Especially when we get to the part about, this woman talking about gender-affirming hysterectomies for young girls who have no clue the magnitude of the decision that they're making when they decide to cut off their breasts at 12 years old. They can't grow them back, and boob jobs are not the same, right? You talk about women who permanently lose their ability to breastfeed, okay? To do functions, basic functions, biological functions that women do. Something they're going to wish they had when they turn 18, 19, 20 years old and turn around and say, oh, I don't think I'm actually trans. Why did I get my breast cut off? And they're going to be looking at their parents and the doctor saying, why did you let a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old make a decision like that? Well, we didn't want to be bigots, right? We were woke and we didn't want to be bigots. You think that individual is going to accept that as a response? You didn't want to be a bigot, right? But again, this is why governors like Ron DeSantis, man, I just can't say enough good things about the guy. He's already ahead on this issue, right? Basically saying that doctors that perform these gender-affirming surgeries should be allowed to be sued. Take a look.
Talk about these very young kids getting gender-affirming care. What they don't tell you what that is they're actually giving very young girls double mastectomies. They want to castrate these young boys. That's wrong. And so we've stood up and said, both from the health and children well-being perspective, you don't disfigure 10, 12, 13-year-old kids based on gender dysphoria. 80% of it resolves anyways by the time they get older. So why would you be doing this? I think these doctors need to get sued for what's happening. I'm sorry.
Facts, right? 100% facts. These doctors should be sued. Okay, they should lose their medical licenses for performing this type of stuff on kids. Right? The way to kind of nip this in the bud in terms of the whole, physical affirming thing, because it's one thing to go through the social affirming, which I disagree with, but at least with that, hey, there's no actual physical changes made until that person turns 18 and decides to do what they want to do with their bodies. Fine, I really don't care at that point. But when we're talking about children, right? The way to nip this in the bud is just to craft laws the same way they kind of craft laws about abortion in red states like Texas, where it's just like, well, if you're a doctor and you perform this stuff, you can be sued, right? You can be sued, okay? Because a lot of this stuff is happening. A lot of these doctors are performing these surgeries because profit, right? It's money. And that's the sad thing about this, guys. There is a profit motive behind this. That's why you see so many kids getting pushed into this stuff, these hormones, these surgeries, because it's money. It's money. All of it is money, right? And if you take away the profit incentive, I guarantee you it goes away. All of a sudden, you'll have medical doctors, right, actually preaching real science. Saying, oh, no, this stuff is, this is not grounded in reality. This is what we know about, basic biology here, right? They start speaking some sense. And this is why people should strongly consider, in my opinion, I'm just saying, this is definitely what, I'm going to do, right? When I consider going to a doctor, right, seeking medical treatment, I'm going to ask the person, hey, would you prescribe a child gender-affirming healthcare if they say they're of the opposite gender? And if so, how young would you do it, right? Do you believe in this woke gender ideology? Do you think that this is grounded in actual science? And depending on that answer, I may or may not decide whether or not I would want to receive medical services from this person. And the reason why is because if they don't get the right answer, then that tells me, one, they're immoral, okay, that there's some morality issues going on here. And two, again, they are probably not a doctor that's grounded in, again, biology and medical science, which would make them not qualified to give me medical treatment. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Because there's no way we should live in a world where doctors feel okay with not only performing these things, but advertising them to the rest of society as if this is normal and this is something that we should be doing. It tells you that somewhere the system is screwed up, right? We got some issues to fix here. And I think the first thing starts with doing things like Ron DeSantis is suggesting, is crafting laws and legislation that allows people to sue these doctors who actually perform these types of surgery on children, because it is just immoral. And a lot of these children are going to end up regretting this stuff when they get older, and they're not going to have any recourse for the fact that the parent and the doctor decided to make a decision for them that they could not understand, right? And in fact, who knows? It might need to go further than that. Maybe kids can sue their parents for making those types of decisions for them, right? Maybe it should go that far, right? So when the kids actually grow up and regret it because it's not their fault, they're kids, they can actually, get money back, get their reparations, right, from the people that actually did them harm, that allowed them to go through this treatment and this life-changing permanent procedures, knowing that they weren't old enough to actually understand what was happening. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.